Dáil's statements marking Europe Day have become an important fixture in our annual political calendar, and this is not least a reminder of the democratic ideal that is at the heart of the European Union and the shared values underpinning it. It was on the 9th of May 1950 that Robert Schuman set out his vision for a new form of cooperation in Europe. The historic Schuman Declaration invited a new beginning for the European continent, one that would end generations of deeply destructive conflict and division, and set the path to what has evolved to become today's European Union. Europe Day marks the successful development over decades of a deeply interconnected area of peace, stability and shared prosperity on the continent of Europe. It is inspired by giving practical and multilateral expression to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris in December 1948, less than 18 months before the Schuman Initiative. And it reminds us of the deep bond that is the part we play together in advancing and defending our shared values through the democratic process. I can call it that we are marking Europe Day 2022 here in the Oireachtas is especially appropriate. Exactly 50 years ago today, on the 10th of May 1972, the Irish people made one of the most consequential decisions in the history of our state, voting by an overwhelming majority to join the then European communities. Over 83% voted yes to approve the Third Amendment to our Constitution, amending Article 29 to enable community legislation have the force of law in Ireland. Of the 1.8 million eligible voters, 1.2 million voted, a 70.9% turnout, and all constituencies across the country were solidly in favour. The lowest yes vote recorded in Dublin South West was 73%, and the highest in Donegal North East was 91.7%. That referendum followed the signing in Brussels on the 22nd of January 1972 of the accession treaty by Jack Lynch as Taoiseach and Dr. Patrick Hillery as Minister for Foreign Affairs. Few events in our history as an independent state have been so transformative. The 5 decades since have witnessed Ireland emerge as a truly modern, open economy and society, one that contributes to and benefits from the close relationship and cooperation it enjoys with its European partners. Far from diminishing our sovereignty as a people, our membership of the European Union has helped to strengthen it, giving us a reach and an influence that we would not otherwise enjoy. Not all were positively disposed to the new possibilities that joining the European communities would open. Our newly found independence, just 50 years old, was fragile and jealously guarded. But those convinced that Ireland's future lay in Europe showed the courage to imagine a new Ireland with a more confident and optimistic future. Jack Lynch described it as a courage to respond to, quote, the call made by the founding members to other countries of Europe who shared their ideals to join in their efforts to establish the foundations of an ever closer union among the European peoples. This included not least the ideal of a vital force for peace in the world and an ever-increasing contribution to the economic and social progress of developing nations. As is so often the case, the courageous decision was the right decision. And these past 50 years have seen a transformative and overwhelmingly positive impact of EU membership across all dimensions of our society. The shared community we joined has widened and deepened in the 50 years since. It has become a beacon of democracy and prosperity, especially for those in our wider neighbourhood who want to join, who want to enjoy the benefits and protections that come with belonging to a community of values and of laws. During our presidency of 2004, it was our honour and privilege to welcome 10 new member states, mostly countries from Central and Eastern Europe, that emerged as new and restored democracies after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Now we see the next wave looking to join, the countries of the Western Balkans, countries like Georgia, Moldova and of course Ukraine. For the people of Ukraine, the journey to EU membership is an aspiration of the most profound kind. As we meet, it is enduring a horrific and violent war, orchestrated by a man and by a regime that does not want to see Ukraine fulfil its European aspiration and perspective. Irish people have been enormously moved by the extraordinary courage and bravery of the people of Ukraine in defending their country and their right to shape their own future. We've opened up our country and indeed our homes to welcome those fleeing from the war, guided by an empathy rooted in our own history and strong values. President Zelensky including in his remarks to our joint sitting of the Houses of the Oireachtas on the 6th of April, has called for accountability for the perpetrators of unspeakable crimes in Ukraine and for an accelerated process to allow Ukraine to join the European Union. I've made clear to him that he has my full support, and I know that the sentiment is shared across this House. And I reiterated that support to Prime Minister Denis Micheál when I met him in Shannon last month. Ireland is not acting alone in our response. We are a committed member of the wider European family, and our membership of the European Union provides us with a seat at a shared table and a voice at the heart of Europe. The European Union has rightly condemned the war as inhumane, immoral and unjustifiable, and has taken unprecedented decisions and actions to lend its support to Ukraine. Acting together, we have moved swiftly to adopt the strongest, most hard-hitting packages of sanctions in our history. We are providing billions of euro in support of the people of Ukraine, and with our international partners, we are committed to helping rebuild a free and independent Ukraine when the war is over. The European Union is, of course, one of the finest examples of conflict resolution and peace building the world has ever seen. Next month, I hope to have the honour of unveiling a bust of one of the greatest Irish people and Europeans of the 20th century, John Hume, in the European Parliament in Strasbourg. It will stand in a place where he was held in enormously high regard and where he made an immense contribution. John Hume told the European Parliament that from his own experience, the three principles at the heart of the European Union are the same principles that came to underpin peace in Ireland. Respect for difference. After all, that is what all conflict is about. Institutions which respect difference, and working together in the common interest, and in doing so, breaking down the barriers of the past. The European Union played a significant part in our journey towards peace and reconciliation on this island. It provided a valuable shared space in which Irish and British ministers could cooperate and get to know each other, and these relationships helped to develop the mutual trust and understanding that were so important throughout the peace process. Our European partners also made and continue to make their contribution through the strongest and most steadfast of support through generous peace and reconciliation programmes, benefiting communities north and south and strengthening prosperity across this island. They have stood by Ireland as we work together to manage the unique challenges for this island, resulting from the United Kingdom's decision to leave the European Union, making the objective of sustaining peace, avoiding a hard border and protecting the all-island economy a major priority from the very beginning of negotiations. It is perhaps hard to believe that as we approach the 6th anniversary of the British referendum, we are still discussing the arrangements between us. Where we are is a reflection of the genuine complexity of what was presented as a simple question, when it was anything but. As we continue to work to find a way forward on the Northern Ireland Protocol, making its operation as smooth and seamless for the people of Northern Ireland as possible, our European partners stand with us and in support of peace and the Good Friday Agreement. Like Ireland, our European Union partners want to build a strong and productive relationship with the United Kingdom for the future. As we have seen with Ukraine, we are stronger when we work together, but a strong and productive relationship can only be built on a firm foundation of trust. At Ceann, when I visited the National Archives in January to mark the 50th anniversary of the signing of the accession treaty, I made the point that membership exposed Ireland to new ideas and to new, more generous and compassionate ways of thinking. Membership gave us the impetus we needed to strengthen our own human rights record, to drive forward civil and social rights, to introduce gender equality legislation, to improve protection of workers' rights, and to become a much more tolerant, kinder and inclusive country than the Ireland of 1972. We now play our part in seeking to advance and defend the Union's shared values: respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, human rights within the Union and throughout the world. We are proud that Ireland has become a beacon to others of what the European Union can help a country to achieve, never more so than hosting that day of welcomes for the new member states in May of 2004. The European Union will continue to evolve in the coming years. Yesterday's report from the Conference on the Future of Europe marks another contribution towards shaping its future. It has been an unprecedented exercise in European-wide direct citizen engagement and has generated a huge number of ideas and suggestions that will require careful and considered reflection. As we look back on the 50 years of our membership, it is important that we look to the future too. I hope that people across Ireland, deputies in this House, all of those who value the European Union, its contribution to this country and to the world, continue to make our voices heard. We have much to contribute and much to gain. Speaking at the historic signing ceremony in Brussels in 1972, the then Taoiseach Jack Lynch remarked, and I quote, "Geography has placed us on the periphery of the continent, but we are an integral part of Europe, bound to it by many centuries of shared civilization, traditions and ideals. Ireland, because of historical circumstances, did not participate in the past in all the great moments of European experience, but the Irish people have in many periods of our history been deeply involved in the life and culture of the European mainland. Since statehood, my country, conscious of its European past, has sought to forge new and stronger links with the continent. In this, we were renewing and revitalising historic bonds." Unquote. I endorse these words today and believe the same spirit of optimism, aspiration and hope should remain a powerful guiding force as we mark Europe Day, reflect on what has been and imagine what is yet to come.